Hideo Kojima, humble to the end. By now, we all know about the ugly feud between Hideo Kojima and Konami. While many details still remain a mystery, things like Konami's harassment and mistreatment of their employees is no secret. More recently, we learned that Konami is making it more difficult for ex-Konami employees who quit to get new jobs in the industry, and they're pulling strings on some health insurance company that the new Kojima productions apply to ensure that they don't get their application approved. So yeah, it's like they're stuck in the past. They can't move forward. They've got all this enmity in them, and that's all they're resorting to. But amidst all that, Hideo Kojima continues to remain humble and resolute on looking towards the future. Now that I think about it, I don't recall a single time in which Hideo Kojima ever badmouthed Konami or seemed like he was trying to get back at them for what they did to him ever since his departure. Kojima's made it very clear that his priorities are moving forward and leading his new studio and focusing on new ventures like his upcoming game Death Stranding. I guess the closest that he came to badmouthing Konami was when he shared his opinions on Metal Gear Survive during Tokyo Game Show 2016. He basically said that in his opinion, the focus on zombies doesn't really belong in a series that is mainly focused on espionage and political fiction. That wasn't really even a direct jab at Konami, just his genuine thoughts on the new game, thoughts that many of us shared. Overall, I would say Kojima has remained pretty graceful throughout this whole fiasco with a positive attitude that expresses optimism for the future, which is nice. It shows that his priorities are making great games rather than focusing on needless hostility. More recently, Hideo Kojima took it a step further in an interview with Japanese website Toyo Keizai when he thanked Konami for making him who he is today. Now, the interview was all in Japanese, but fortunately, website Kotaku took it upon themselves to translate the important bits of this article. Here's what Kojima had to say about Konami. What I'm grateful to Konami for is that when I proposed something I wanted to make, they let me make it. Conversely, I wasn't bound by them saying, you need to do it like this. Kotaku's article then paraphrased another one of Kojima's statement as follows. According to Kojima, when he would ask to be allowed to make a game, submitting a proposal describing the aim, giving the development period, and saying the approximate number of staff needed, he'd get the green light. Kojima then said, it was like that from when I joined to the end. Because of that, I'm the person I am today. So just to give you a little background, Hideo Kojima first joined Konami shortly after college against all advice to not join the infant video game industry. The first game that he directed on his own and saw release was, of course, Metal Gear 1 for the MSX2. The game's development began when a young, inexperienced Kojima was handed by Konami bosses a game plan for a war game. But due to the hardware limitations of the MSX2, Kojima quickly realized that a war game was simply not feasible, so instead he decided to take a different approach. Instead of making a war game, he got this brilliant idea to make a game where you sneak around enemies and infiltrate a military base. When Kojima first presented this idea to his bosses, they weren't particularly thrilled about it. This almost resulted in Hideo Kojima quitting the company, but one of his bosses encouraged him to just stay the course. Eventually, development on Metal Gear was finally finished, and it launched on July 13th, 1987 to critical and commercial success. While we don't know the name of the boss who encouraged Kojima to stay and finish Metal Gear 1, it's certainly true that Kojima wouldn't be where he is today if Konami and its bosses wouldn't have given him that chance all those years ago. From there, Kojima would go on to make games like Snatcher, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Policenauts, and I would say that it was once Metal Gear Solid launched to universal acclaim and commercial success that Kojima finally rose to iconic status as a game developer. And ever since, Konami has given Kojima a lot of leeway with his projects, apparently. As Kojima stated in his interview, if he wanted to make a game, as long as he presented a concrete, solid plan, the game would be greenlit. These games included everything from the rest of the Metal Gear games to Zone of the Enders and lesser-known titles like Boktai. It was also the president of Konami who asked Kojima to work on the next Silent Hill editorial entry, which culminated in the release of the brilliant PT. Silent Hill's short-lived development also allowed him to get in contact with new partners like Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus, which opened new doors. Then, after his departure from Konami, with all the experience he had attained at the company, with all the connections he had made over the years in the industry, and with the new Kojima Productions as his vessel, he now aims to reach for the stars with future ventures like Death Stranding. So, you know, fuck Konami and all, but there is certainly no denying that without Konami, Kojima wouldn't be where he is today, and he wouldn't be who he is today. Kojima himself acknowledged this in the interview and has in return expressed his gratitude towards the company. It's an honorable thing to do, and it's good to see that despite the hardships he endured, Kojima's able to remain humble and passionate in equal measures. Konami, on the other hand, can't seem to do either of those things, with the word honorable having disappeared from their dictionary in recent years. I will say this though, I don't know the full history of Konami. I feel like they've always been kind of shady, but there was a time when they did make some significant contributions to the video game industry. I feel like there was a time where they were considered to be good video game publishers. So to that old Konami, I say gratitude well deserved. Unfortunately, the old Konami died once it started shifting their focus towards pachinkos and mobile games, treating their employees like shit, and stirring up drama. Let's face it, modern day Konami is an unrecognizable monstrosity now, and it's a shame to see what they have become. So to the old Konami, thank you, but to whatever abomination of an entity Konami has rotted into, to them I still say, fuck you. Anyway, there you go, folks. Another display of Kojima being the better man and showing that he's focused on the right things for the future. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you enjoy my content in general, I hope you'll consider supporting me on Patreon to help our community remain independent from third-party sponsorship and corporate interference. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!